There's a kind of sentence that doesn't just reach her ears, it stays on her skin, almost like a slow fingertip sliding gently down her spine. Most women are used to hearing words like baby, honey, sweetheart, but when you say something different instead, it doesn't sound like another cute nickname. It feels like a spark. It feels warm. It makes her body lean closer before her mind even notices what's happening. And once you understand how to use that kind of energy, she won't just hear your voice. She'll sense you. You don't need tricks or magic phrases. What you truly need is meaning. Because when a man speaks with honesty, with the right moment, and with steady calmness, he's not only noticed for a second. He's remembered. He doesn't only touch her thoughts. He reaches something deeper in her body, her heart, and her emotions. He becomes felt in a way that lingers softly, in a way that doesn't disappear in a few minutes, but stays alive inside her. Let that truth sit in your chest for a moment. Breathe it in slowly. Somewhere in your life, someone may have told you something untrue. Maybe you heard that to attract a woman, you have to act a certain way. Be smoother, be cooler, tell funnier jokes, dress sharper, pretend you're more confident than you really are, or hide the parts of yourself that feel too real or too honest. You were handed rules, tips, and clever lines to look perfect. And yet here you are, still wondering why none of it truly works. Why is it that you can try so hard and still feel invisible to her? Think for a second. You've seen women who talk and talk, but their words fade like smoke. People hear them, but nobody really listens deeply. Then there's another woman who hardly speaks. She stays quiet most of the time, but when she finally says something, the whole room shifts, heads turn, people lean toward her. Everyone feels the weight of her presence. That isn't magic. That's real awareness. That's the power of someone who understands her voice and her energy. She doesn't rush. She doesn't guess. She speaks from her center, from a grounded place inside her. If you're listening from that deeper part of yourself, then keep going. This is the moment where you show you're ready. Do it because you're tired of feeling unseen, because if you've ever felt like you do everything right, but she still doesn't really notice you, then what we're about to go through might be the shift you've been waiting for. Imagine this. You're standing near a quiet lake at sunrise. The surface is smooth like polished glass. You pick up a tiny pebble and drop it gently into the water. Even that little stone creates soft ripples that travel across the whole lake. That's what powerful words do. They don't need to be loud or dramatic. They just need purpose. They carry presence. They whisper, yet their echo stays long after you walk away. But what do most men do? They throw big rocks. They shout across the water. They toss storms of words, hoping something will work. It doesn't. Because the true secret isn't in the amount of words. It's in the feeling, the depth, the emotion behind them. Most people never understand this. The deeper mind, the place where real attraction lives, doesn't respond to logic or long explanations. It reacts to emotion, to tone, to rhythm, to attention, to presence, to energy. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the hidden parts known, they will rule your life, and you will call it fate." That isn't only about personal growth, it's also about desire. A woman doesn't fall for you because you talk perfectly. She falls when you awaken something inside her, something beyond the literal words, something she still feels long after you leave. Your problem isn't effort. Your problem is using the wrong keys. You ask, "How was your day?" She says, "Good." You follow with, "So, what do you do for work?" She gives a short answer, then silence. Nothing connects. Why? Because your words didn't reach deep enough. They didn't touch her inner world. And that isn't your fault. You were raised and trained to impress, not to connect. You were taught to perform, not to create impact. But that can change today. When you learn to speak with impact, when your words carry intention, everything shifts. When you understand not only what to say, but how to say it, and when to say it, you stop disappearing into the background. You become someone she actually notices. You get attention not by being loud, but by being steady, grounded, sure of yourself. People feel you, she feels you. And suddenly, you become unforgettable in her mind. You don't need 50 pickup lines. You don't need endless conversations. You just need a few words spoken with full presence, with a slow and confident tone. You need quiet confidence, the kind of energy that makes a woman pause in the middle of her thought and wonder to herself, "Who is he?" That isn't manipulation. That isn't a trick. That's natural attraction. It's emotional awareness expressed through calmness and timing. When you speak with real meaning instead of noise, you stop begging for attention. You draw it in without force. The human mind doesn't hold on to empty sentences. It remembers energy, tone, rhythm, and the emotional warmth of the moment. It's never the exact sentence she remembers. It's how she felt when you said it. Always remember this. People may forget the words you said, but they never forget the feeling you gave them. That isn't just a nice quote. It's real, especially for women. She may not remember every detail, but if your words touched something soft and honest inside her, she will carry that memory long after. Picture walking into a dark room filled with balloons, all with the same tired phrases written across them. "Hey, how are you? Just checking in." The whole room feels dull and lifeless. Now imagine you bring in a single candle and light it. That one small flame changes the entire room. That's what your presence does when it's true, grounded, and intentional, not forced, not practiced, just real. The truth is, many men stay away from speaking deeply because they're scared. They're scared of not being understood, scared of sounding too emotional or serious, so they stay safe. They send small talk messages. They stay harmless but forgettable. And safe never creates memory. Presence creates memory. Emotion creates memory. When your words paint images, when they tell small stories that invite her imagination to move with you, she doesn't just hear you, she feels you. You stop being just another text or another voice. You become a feeling she wants to return to, not because of the exact words, but because of who you were when you spoke them. From now on, make this your rule. No more empty messages, no more shallow talk that only fills space. Every word you say, every message you send, every voice note you record, let it come from something real inside you, not the version you think she wants, not the polished mask, just you. Stay with me because what comes next goes even further. We're going to explore how to create moments that don't just get her attention, but stay in her memory long after. Now let's talk about 3 simple words that can shift everything without noise. You and me. It sounds small, right? But don't overlook it. Those words aren't just a little phrase. They're an image, an invitation, a spark. You and me isn't a pickup line. It's a reflection, a doorway. Say it softly. You and me. It sounds simple, but that's why it works. Real connection isn't built on dramatic speeches. It's built on quiet phrases that touch the nervous system in a subtle way. When you say you and me, you're not begging, you're not pushing. You're planting a seed, giving a gentle opening, a soft possibility. Vision. The female mind doesn't respond best to logic. It reacts to emotion, images, and suggestion. Picture this. You're sitting beside her. The mood is light. Laughter drifts between you. Instead of saying, "I like talking to you," you smile and say, "You and me could have dangerously good conversations." You didn't flatter. You didn't beg. You created a small world that didn't exist before your words. Or say, "You and me, we'd crush any debate if we were on the same side." That's not cheesy, that's presence. That's an invitation. Maybe a small voice in your head whispers, "Is that too bold?" What if she doesn't reply? But you're not saying it to get a reaction. You're saying it to leave a lasting impression, and impressions last. They stay alive in her imagination, even if she doesn't show it right away. This isn't about chasing approval. It's about owning your presence. That is confidence. That is real attraction. These are the moments that make her pause, not because she feels pressured, but because she suddenly feels something unexpected, something alive. So next time the energy is right, don't hold back, don't shrink. Drop the spark with calm ease. Say it casually but with meaning. You and me. It's not a trick. It's a doorway. It's more than words. It reflects how you see yourself. Those words don't land because they sound clever, but because of how you say them, quietly, steadily, without neediness. The unspoken message is, "I'm not waiting to be chosen. I already am the choice." You've probably heard men say, "Do you maybe want to hang out sometime?" That's hesitation. That's not confidence. Flip it. You and me should check out that spot downtown. That is presence. That is energy. That is leading, not asking. Ask yourself, do you want to be remembered as the man who always played it safe, or the one who said something real that she actually felt? Because energy doesn't lie. You can say the perfect words, but if you say them hoping they'll work, they fall flat. But if you speak like you already know your value, she feels it. She looks at you differently. She thinks, "He's not like the rest." True masculine power doesn't shout or chase. It's calm. It's steady. It speaks with ease that naturally draws people in. Stop asking for permission. Be the invitation. When you speak like someone who already knows his worth, everything changes. You stop being ignored and start being remembered, not just for a moment, but deeply. Now let's talk about timing, the place where many men fail. Not because they said the wrong thing, but because they said it too soon or too late. Timing is sacred. Say something too early, and it feels like pressure. Say it too late, and the moment is lost. But say it at the right time. When the energy is open and you're not just talking, you're awakening attention. Don't rush the moment. A wise man doesn't speak for applause. He waits for the window. The right time is when the feeling is light, when it's alive. When she's relaxed, laughing, leaning in. That's when you drop it softly, like a candle into the dark. Picture her talking about her favorite food spot. You smile and say, "You and me should try that place. See if it's really as good as they say." That's it. No pressure, no force, just a vision. You didn't demand anything. You trusted your words to echo on their own. That's attraction, a quiet whisper that lingers. Most men fail because they hold on too tightly, forcing a reaction. But the man who knows his worth says it, lets it breathe, and trusts the silence. He knows she might remember later, maybe while driving home, and think, "You and me would make a dangerous team." She smiles without knowing why. That isn't manipulation. That's resonance. That's meaning. A man like that doesn't just leave an impression, he becomes a symbol. He doesn't try to be remembered. He simply is. He leaves a quiet story that stays alive in her thoughts. So stop chasing reactions. Don't wait for validation. Speak like a man who already knows his words carry weight, especially when he lets them breathe. Silence, too, has power. The moment after your words, when you don't search for approval, is when the real impact hits. If you say, "You and me," and then stare waiting for a reaction, you lose the effect. But if you say it and simply stay calm, knowing you meant it, the silence becomes full. That's when she feels it. That's when your energy is remembered. The silence after your words isn't empty. It's the place where connection starts. Most people rush through silence because they fear it. They think quiet means something went wrong. But silence, when held with calm, is magnetic. It's where she starts to feel, not just listen. It's where your presence speaks. When you can stay relaxed in that space, when your energy fills it without words, she begins to feel drawn. Silence is not absence of sound. It's the presence of emotion. It's the space between two people where attraction quietly grows. It's that pause before a smile. That small moment when eyes meet and nobody wants to break the spell. When you can hold that, you communicate something far deeper than words ever could. You say without speaking, "I'm not afraid to be here with you." That silent message, quiet but strong, builds trust. It builds tension in the best way. It shows her you're not trying to control the moment. You're living it. And that's rare, because most men panic in the gap. They rush to fill it with nervous chatter, jokes, or pointless questions. But the man who stays calm inside the silence becomes the gravity of the moment. He becomes the center she orbits without realizing it. Women sense energy faster than words. They feel the difference between words spoken from calm certainty and words spoken from need. They know when you're grounded and when you're performing. You don't have to be perfect. You just need to be real. Being real isn't saying everything that comes to mind. It's about honesty without pressure. It's about knowing when to speak and when to simply exist. Quiet confidence doesn't come from talking more. It comes from knowing you don't need to. A man who understands this stops chasing attention. He stops overthinking the next line. He listens, not just to her words, but to her tone, her eyes, her rhythm. Connection isn't built on clever words. It's built on awareness. Awareness is a skill most men never learn. It's not just hearing her, it's feeling the space between her words. When she tells a story, listen for what she doesn't say. When she laughs, notice how long her eyes stay on yours. When she goes quiet, don't rush to fill it, just be there. When you stay still, she feels seen. When you stay calm, she feels safe. And when a woman feels safe, she opens, not just emotionally, but energetically. Here's something powerful. Attraction doesn't grow in noise. It grows in space. Space for imagination, for feeling, for mystery. When you fill every silence, there's no room for her to sense you. But when you leave pauses, her mind fills them with thoughts of you. That's the psychology of presence. She starts to replay your words, your tone, your subtle expressions. You stop being just someone she met. You become a thought she returns to without effort. Think of it like music. The best songs aren't only about the notes. They're about the spaces between them. The silence gives the music its shape. Conversation works the same way. The pause after your words gives them weight. It lets meaning sink in. You can speak a single line and have it echo for days if you give it room to breathe. Now let's look at what happens inside you when you speak this way. You begin to slow down. You stop performing and start noticing. You pay attention to your tone, your breathing, your heartbeat. You stop being a man trying to impress. You become a man who enjoys the moment. That's the shift. That's when your energy changes from seeking to radiating. An energy that radiates is impossible to ignore. A woman doesn't need perfection. She needs to sense you are present. She needs to feel that you're not pretending. That's what real attraction is. When your inner world and outer actions finally match, your voice, your eyes, your words, they all tell the same story. That's when she feels safe to be herself too, because presence invites presence. Here's another truth most men never grasp. Attraction isn't about performance, it's about permission. When you feel comfortable in yourself, you give her permission to feel comfortable too. When you stop hiding your emotions, you give her permission to feel hers. When you stop chasing approval, you give her permission to relax. That's how intimacy starts. Not with tricks, not with lines, but with energy that says it's safe to be real. That kind of energy is rare and powerful. The world teaches men to chase, perform, impress, achieve. Few are taught how to be still, to feel, to truly connect. You may have been told control equals strength, but real strength is calm. Real power is when your words and silence both carry weight. That's what shifts how people experience you. When you reach that state, everything changes. Your eye contact becomes steady yet kind. Your voice slows, not from doubt, but from confidence. Your body language softens because you're not fighting to be noticed. You already know you are enough. That inner calm creates a subtle pull women feel instantly. It's not the loud man who gets remembered. It's the grounded one. The man who makes her feel something deeper without saying too much. Now, some men might think, so should I just talk less? No. It's not about talking less, it's about speaking with intention. Speak when you mean it. Speak when there's feeling behind your words. Don't talk just to fill time. Speak to fill space with meaning. When you do that, even your silence becomes magnetic. Go back to that phrase again, you and me. Its beauty is in simplicity. It doesn't explain, it doesn't push. It suggests, it invites. It creates a small world shared between two people. You can use it anywhere. If she mentions loving to travel, smile and say, you and me could get lost somewhere and still have fun. If she laughs about being competitive, say, you and me, we'd make every game dangerous. You aren't asking for anything, you're offering energy. That's the difference between boys and men. Boys seek attention, men give presence. When you say something like that with the right tone and timing, it's not about cleverness, it's about connection. You show you are emotionally awake, that you understand how to blend confidence with playfulness. That is irresistible. Women don't fall just for what they hear, they fall for how it feels. Here's something deep to remember. Women remember moments more than words. They remember the small breath before you spoke, the look in your eyes when you smiled, the way your energy filled the space. That lingers. That comes back when she's alone thinking. Not the exact sentence, but the feeling you created in the quiet spaces between words. That's why mastering emotional timing is everything. The best time to say something powerful isn't when you're trying to win attention. It's when you already have it. When she's relaxed, laughing, leaning close, that's when the doorway opens. That's when your words land. Attraction isn't built on performance. It grows through shared rhythm, through being aware enough to sense when the moment opens and stepping in with ease. When you do that, she doesn't feel pressured, she feels awakened. That's the energy of a man who knows his presence alone is enough. Maybe that's the lesson beneath all this. Stop trying to make her feel something. Start feeling it yourself. Feel the warmth of the moment. Feel the stillness in the silence. Feel the weight of your own words when they're honest. When you start feeling, she starts feeling too. Connection mirrors itself. So next time you speak with her, remember this. It isn't about saying the perfect thing. It's about being the man whose words carry life. Be the man who doesn't rush, who lets silence breathe, who speaks with calm certainty and listens with genuine curiosity. The kind of man whose presence doesn't demand attention, it earns it. When your words, your energy, and your stillness all speak the same language, she won't just notice you, she'll feel you long after the words fade. Long after the moment passes, she'll still feel you in her body. That's how a man becomes unforgettable.